Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Mike Ben on Air. I'm your host, you guessed it, Mike Ben.
I've seen angels turn for pitchforks. I've seen halos turn to red horns.
A lot of people I've I've talked to have been, their view on God is kind of the same. Like it's very vague for lack of better words, but it has to do with like the fact that like we're finite brains trying to comprehend something that's possibly infinite. So that raises a lot of kind of problems with trying to quantify God, and trying to what's the word? Trying to assign some sort of labels to him or to it, I should say. But for me, growing up, I grew up Catholic, and I struggled a lot with my belief in God in like middle school and high school. I went up and down with between atheism and agnosticism and things like that. And currently now, I do believe in a higher power like you as well. And but I think the thing about God that's very interesting that I think that perhaps is different than some others beliefs in God is that I think God is no different than what we are at our core. Like I don't think God is something separate from us or separate from you. It's very interesting in the Vedantic practices, which is like a branch of Hinduism. They say that like God is you, like and I use this word a lot, the observer, and they call it the witness consciousness, which is basically the thing which is aware, or the awareness itself, they say. And when it comes to that, if what you think of God is awareness, then how could we not be God? We at our core, I think, and I really do believe that. I believe at our core we're really the same thing. Um I was talking to you about this last time, but from the perspective of the Big Bang, we all started from this single point, and then we evolved, or the Big Bang exploded and branched off, and we really are quite literally the same thing, just exploring a different probability of itself.
Like individual variables of the
Yeah, like
same origin.
right, like I mean, I think literally if you wrote it in terms of like a mathematical equation or something, like the Big Bang, whatever that singularity is, equals all of this. And you might ask, well, how can things be separate then? If it started as a single thing, what differentiates that single thing? And that's a little trickier, but I do think that without a doubt, we are the same thing, just exploring a different probability field, or whatever the word for it would be, exploring a different way of knowing itself. I've heard some people say, which is like more poetic, but at the bottom line, I really do think that God is nothing separate from us. We, at our core, we are God.
It's interesting. It kind of goes against the grain of what like a lot of religions kind of think. But kind of going back to what you were talking about, like a matter. I'm paraphrasing you, but just kind of a matter of like how you observe something. You kind of think of like this table fixture. It doesn't cease to be, but my perspective of it's going to be different than yours from where you're sitting.
Right. The thing with the table fixture, and a lot of people bring that up, is like, when getting into quantum physics and stuff, is like, is this here when we're not looking? When I'm turned around, and I've really struggled with that for a while. Trying to figure that, is it there, or what is, but I think the problem is with, I think when we're not looking, there's no observer that is fractizing the reality. So in other words, when we're not looking, I think this whole thing is just one thing. It's literally just the singularity. And then when we look at it, we see differentiations. We see different things. Oh, this is a jug. That's a computer. That's a tree. But that's only a fractization that's being imposed on reality. You know, For example, like a bee can see ultraviolet light. So a bee looking at this environment will see a completely different geometry than what we are seeing.
That's interesting. Let me ask you then about like, yeah, let me ask you then about like, okay, God's consciousness then. Um, what then? Because with what we're talking about, that would then go against the idea that God has an individual consciousness outside of us. Am I correct?
Um, so, outside of us,
If I am God and you are God, then what is God beyond that?
right?
Right?
That's a great question. Yeah. I think what it has to do with is the again, the nature of differentiation. So, we see things, we've evolved to sort out things and to organize and label things, and that's a rug and this is a wall and things like that. But um I think I think that's really an illusion, for a lack of a better word. I think everything really is unified in a very real sense. And with what you were saying, about how how can you be God and I be God, but we're both talking to each other right now. And this is where I think it gets really interesting, because you and I know I was talking to you about this at Starbucks, but we are not in the same time, in the same space-time coordinate. That's been proven by Albert Einstein. Two separate observers going at different speeds have a different reference frame on reality. Now you might say, well, okay, but you and I were here in the same spot right here. We're not going at different speeds, but we are. Our atoms and our molecule, everything that makes us up is vibrating. Your thoughts change your vibration, however so slightly. And everything, and obviously you're composed differently than I am. We're different human beings, so we have different intrinsic, even though it's very similar, we're not vibrating at the exact same frequency. So therefore we're not going at the same speed. So that does leave room for you to be God and me to be God, because we're never occupying the same time. By the time you're hearing my voice right now and registering what I'm saying, I'm in the past. That photon hit your eye. It's no longer a part of me. It's reached your eye. You're hearing my voice. You're registering the information. I'm in the past.
So we are operating at two different frequencies.
Right. I would say everything vibrates at a different frequency.
But here we are in the same. That's really interesting. I've never thought of that, like juxtaposition. Here we are in the same location, but here we are of two different frequencies.
Yeah.
Been trying to